Okay, we are going to get started with the second half of the pitch showcase for the second WXR cohort. We have 4 more companies to showcase this afternoon. Thank you for coming. Take a picture, tweet at us, because we're really taking over the AWE hashtag. It's amazing. It's all WXR purple. Okay, first we're going to go with Lisa Wong. She is hailing from Burbank, California. Lisa Wong, CEO of Binary Bubbles. Come on up here to the stage. Put your hands together for Lisa. Go for it.
So, where's my computer? Are my slides queued up? Oh, great. All right. So, this is not my real voice, but here we go. So, I'm Lisa Wong. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of Binary Bubbles. We are an LA-based startup with a background in games and television. So we know on a really intimate level that people have extremely emotional relationships with fictional characters, and we really thought that should be kicked up a notch. So what we built is Cortex Core, and it's technology that allows entertainment IP owners to essentially tie together all of their products. So that, their games, or their toys, or movies, their television shows, and funnel that all through a world-aware digital character. Because we feel like that makes their consumer engagement much more personal, and they can start developing a personal relationship that will help drive sales across all of their products. I like calling this a sentient brand, because not only can you make that character aware of products in its own ecosystem, but you can make that character aware of images and sounds and videos, locations in our world as well. And very, very importantly, build that emotional relationship, because those relationships can finally feel reciprocal in a conversation you have with them ongoing. And because, I think one of my slides just went missing. So, and why that's important is that's actually how we communicate in real life, right? We talk to someone on Facebook, and then we follow them. We follow up with a text, and all of those conversations count to building that emotional relationship. It'd be really weird if you talk to a friend on Facebook, and then later on he's like, no, that conversation didn't count because we're on text now. Okay, actually these are not my slides. So I'm going to have to just talk through everything, because these are not the correct slides. All right, so yeah. I'm just going to describe to you what it is, and unfortunately it means I'm not going to get to show you guys a demo. So what that means is, you get to have these continuous conversations, and continuous conversations is what builds emotional loyalty, which is really, really important for these kinds of brands. Okay, now I'm just.
If you want to go off the ones on your computer that are up there, kind of cue it up.
Oh, okay. This is not my computer. I'm going to look up someone's Facebook and just kind of start doing things. I do have a computer that has my slides, so if it's all right for me to bring that up. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Everyone loves reruns. Okay. There you go. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, guys. So perfect, because my voice is just like on a, okay. Actually, can I put this down for a second? I actually need to, and then I need to find it. We're just gonna fast forward. All right, sentient brands. So, thank you. What I mean is, we think it's important for the relationships that you build with a character and character-based brands to feel reciprocal, right? Because that's sort of what gets you the emotional engagement. And the conversations, because we wanted to mimic what happened in real conversations, right? You follow a conversation with an actual person, and it really doesn't matter how they communicate and what digital platform they use, right? It's one conversation building your relationship with that person. So let me show you how Cortex Core works. And so what I'm showing you is a demo of a generic character, but obviously this character could be anyone. It could be SpongeBob, it can be Spider-Man. The important thing is he is controlled entirely through this dashboard. So you can make that character, say, aware of a video, go watch a video with you, and the consumer can get rewarded for watching that specific video. You can make that character aware of an image or a logo, and then reward the character for reacting to that. You can link together triggers. So image plus sound or image plus location, and you can make them aware of, say, hey, I'm in a museum and I'm going to start talking about this picture. What we're doing is, this. Yes. So this is a single app with what I call world awareness. However, what the power of Cortex Core is that it allows you to tie together all of your apps, your entire digital persona, and just create like one continuous conversation about a brand, right? So what that means is your 2D SpongeBob Endless Runner game can be aware of your SpongeBob VR or AR experience, can be aware of your SpongeBob toy, right? We're allowing brands to essentially gamify the world by, manipulating triggers and responses so that they can drive this ongoing conversation, with their audience and, create this much more personal relationship. Because that is about the emotional loyalty that is really, really important to brands like these. So we are a B2B2C model. So users log on to our Cortex dashboard, they pay a licensing fee, and the bulk of our monetization actually comes from consumer usage of Cortex Core powered products. So the more people use Cortex Core powered products, the more we monetize. We know this kind of engagement is important for entertainment IP users because, honestly, the only reason why all of those products exist, the toys, the games, the movies, it's to drive brand loyalty to that brand, right? Entertainment might be the only kind of advertising you don't mind getting. And they know that greater brand loyalty means greater sales. And we're just making that a lot easier for them, right? We're just allowing them to coordinate these sort of long-term conversations, faster and easier, and make those conversations much more responsive. And we do feel like we are the perfect people to do this, not only because we have the background in games and television, but had a specific focus in research and development as well as character animation. Collectively, we have shipped products from just about everyone, but Lucasfilm, Konami, Microsoft, Sony, HBO, and as a team, we have shipped VR and AR projects. So we know the workflows, we know the pain points. We're absolutely confident that we built something that was unique, but easy to adopt, which is really important. We already have, 8 companies signed up for beta. So they're mostly in the children's television space, but also in the museum space. And we expect this to come out in late August. Now, I know that a lot of people will tell you that they're going to build the future for you. I'm going to say something a little different. I'm going to say that you guys actually already know this future that we're building, because every single one of you grew up with some character that you just loved so much, right? And you just knew that if you could run at platform 9 3/4 fast enough, Hogwarts would totally be there for you, right? And the only reason that exists is because a storyteller made that exist. What we're doing is allowing those storytellers to make that magic happen for you in your real life. Thank you.
Awesome. Lisa, thanks so much. Thanks for rolling with the tech difficulties. Can I get HH2 mic turned on? Por favor. And we're just going to go every other judge for the moment. We have a little bit of time constraints that we're working within, so I'm going to kick it off to Silka, and then she's just going to dance right over you and pass it to Amanda.
So Lisa, do you want to go on? We all want to talk to you.
No.
Come on down.
So sorry.
You're a star.
You're a star. Okay. I think what you're onto is exactly the way of the future, and it's pretty clear, and you have a clear way of describing it, and well presented.
Thank you.
The question I have is, it's a win for the consumer because they get to interact with the character that they love. It's a win for the brand because they get to understand how the brand is integrated into different vehicles, channels. And the continuous conversation is a big win for both. But my question is, will consumers at some point feel a bit concerned about the fact that this one company knows everything and every different type of product version of the same character that you have, and that they know what you're doing at every time? Is there like a privacy concern, and how would you handle that?
Yeah, so we actually already started building the system. So a lot of the early adopters are children's networks, and they have COBOL compliance already. Yeah. So we had to build with that idea that we can we don't have to know who you are. Okay. We only have to know that, excuse me, I have a cough drop. We only have to know that, hey, someone who liked the SpongeBob toy also liked the SpongeBob app, right? I think brands kind of only really want to know like what things are working, right? So I hope that answers your question.
So it's for research, not for, sorry.
Oh, thank you so much.
Handed it over. So you're saying it's for consumer research rather than for product marketing, you specifically targeting you?
They are going to use it for marketing. I'm not going to lie about that, right? If you know, I'm going to get on stage and lie to everyone. No, it's going to be great. It's probably going to be more like, hey, we see that toys are extremely popular, and no one cares anymore about endless runners. So maybe we'll stop making that. Right.
Awesome. Great presentation. This concept of a continuous conversation with consumers is a big trend, and I think there's going to be some really big companies built around this concept. So my question tied into that is, because this is such a big space and there's so many different specific use cases you can go after, whether it's customer support, marketing, different ways to pitch it to a potential end customer, depending on who they are. My big question for you, and I know you're still really early, so I don't know if this is something you would have an answer to yet, but is how it'll be marketed, just because there are so many different angles you can take, and have you thought through what the initial use case and pitch would be, and then how that would morph over time?
Yeah, so we do come from like television and games, so obviously we started with what we knew, right? Our network is mostly in that space, and so and our early adopters are television networks, and a lot of our early partnerships are in that space as well. I think it's a really easy, natural fit. What's been interesting for us is when we started showing this, prototype, and I can't actually say who, but our technology was licensed when it was a much earlier stage by a major television network, and they actually funded our first proof of concept. Because this is public, I can't say it. So we kind of that so much of what you do is basically how are people responding to an early version of it, and then you kind of adjust, right? So entertainment, really easy fit. People understood that. What's been fun for us is we went to, a couple of conferences to sort of show a product, and people started coming up to us and saying, hey, can it be used for, this other case? So one of the things that's been getting some traction, which has been interesting for me, probably because I love museums, is, the idea of a, customizable tour guide, right? Because our product is built so that, no offense to developers, I was a developer, right? But our product is allowing people to, who aren't developers, to very quickly and easily sort of update content and funnel it to a character, and they don't need to do an app update, and they don't need to go back to the developer, right? So if you're a museum and you have, I know it's going to be like Renoir and Monet, June through August, right? You can schedule that, change that data, and change it for like, Kandinsky or something later. So that was something that they asked us about, and we're like, oh yeah, it totally already does that, but that wasn't something we were thinking about. And that's actually one of the conversations we're having right now with the museum.
Awesome.
Hi.
Hi.
Congratulations on building this and also on doing such a good job recovering through this pitch and managing to keep it entertaining and interesting. So I certainly am with you in terms of the importance of story and character and the relationships that we want to form with these fictional characters. That said, we have very high expectations when it comes to attaching and speaking to, or relating in some way, to the characters that we have read or seen. And natural language processing has come a long way. However, as Siri and even Alexa can show us, it is far from perfect. We don't yet have generalized intelligence. Our AI isn't really AI. So how do you foresee in this first phase, as you create the characters, basically what will be the challenges and the potential of living up to expectations?
So I'm glad you asked this question. So we built a tool for storytellers, right? So we do expect them to be involved. If you kind of think of like, the system is sort of like a cockroach nervous system, but like the brain is still, living with the brand. And we have run both writers and people in the marketing departments of major networks to say, okay, how does this feel to you? Does this work for you? Because we know they have to be involved right now. But one of the things we also knew, it's not a big deal, Hollywood has a massive turnover problem, right? So when they need to manage a brand, it can actually be tricky because someone has a successful campaign and then they leave and they go someplace else, right? One of the great things about computers is computers remember processes really, really well. So we built something that just automatically does that because it's obviously built on the computer. So it automatically keeps track of what are the voices that have already sort of built the personality of this character so far. And they also, all the writers and everything, and we've worked on sort of pretty much every part of this pipeline in a production capacity. So we've seen things like product Bibles, they all have it. So we do expect in the early stages that they're going to want to, control it. That's why we wanted to make the tools easy. In the future, yeah, I obviously want at least a little more AI help, right? Because it's going to get big. But one of the things that's great about, again, building something that's on the computer is that the more people who are sort of training, right? This is on our roadmap, but we're not doing it yet, is that you can literally have all the people who had to speak to your brand in your department essentially train your model of what that character is. And it should stay on voice, right? So that problem you're talking about, it's going to start probably the way all of them do. It'll make suggestions. Would SpongeBob say this? For probably a while, right? And then eventually, hopefully they can sort of take the, let go of the steering wheel a little bit more and not have it work out like Tesla. So.
Dessy, anything else? All right. Awesome. Lisa Wong, put your hands together for Lisa, guys. All right, Carrie Shaw from Embodied Labs. She's coming out of Los Angeles, California, just a few hours south. Carrie, nice to see you again. Here she is, Embodied Labs, Ms. Shaw. All right.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all today. My name's Carrie Shaw, and I am the CEO and founder of Embodied Labs. 5 years ago, I created these goggles because my mom had been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease and a left visual field impairment. And in hiring some of her first home health aides and training them for my mom's care, I said, here, just put these on. And by doing that, they could immediately see what my mom was seeing and feel that they needed to protect the left side of her body. And if they were going to approach her, it should be from the right. And then things like this made sense to them. She would eat exactly half of her plate of food at mealtime, and we would have to rotate it so that she could finish her food. And so these goggles immediately was able to improve my mom's care by putting us into her perspective. But I wondered if we could do more than simulate a simple visual impairment and really get into the perspectives and journeys of our patients and our elders. And so today we are addressing these key issues in the senior care market, really around workforce training. So the senior healthcare industry today is reaching nearly $30 billion, and that's just with our current aging population. And workforce is now facing some unprecedented challenges, illustrated by the cost of turnover and where we're facing with caregiver retention working in our aging services organizations. And so what we're doing with Embodied Labs is we've created a platform that delivers immersive content that addresses key issues in senior care in order to do things like improve workplace culture, improve our knowledge and our behaviors and caregiving practices, and provide this not only to our B2B aging professional caregivers, but make a solution that we can extend out to family caregivers as well. And so the team you see here, in addition with a couple of our first company hires, have brought our solution to market today, and we have delivered to our current customers an all-in-one, out-of-the-box solution that's a hardware, software, and services bundle. And so when they subscribe to Embodied Labs, they receive a VR kit that comes with our platform and content already loaded and ready to use, and then they're able to use that to implement and track data and analytics in their organizations. And so to dive deeper into what that content is that we create, we have a quarterly release of different content dealing with issues like vision and hearing impairment, going through an Alzheimer's disease journey, walking through end-of-life care decisions. And that content combines live-action film, your own hands tracked and projected as the journeys that you're embodying, and user-generated agency through different kinds of interactive objects and elements of those experiences. And all of that integrates with, again, tracking content knowledge about the diseases caregivers are working with patients to care for, their behavior and practices, growth over time, as well as their overall confidence and job satisfaction as caregivers working in their organizations. So we're addressing and have customers in each of these current markets today. If you take our average spend per site of about $6,000 and then multiply that by the opportunities in each of these markets, that's for just today a current addressable market of $1.75 billion. And so who are these customers? We started with some benchmark academic institution subscribers, all training our up-and-coming healthcare workforce to measure efficacy data on how this is impacting caregiver training. And so after moving from there, we've expanded our focus into home health and long-term care organizations, and now have closed to date $136,000 of annual recurring revenue from subscriptions alone. And we, with our current closed contracts, which are now multi-site deals, have been able to project out that we'll reach our $500,000 target in subscription revenue by the end of 2018. We're also developing those relationships for some channel partnerships that over time are going to grow into not only national opportunities, but multinational as well. And we've been really happy to receive support through winning startup competitions, some money from the Department of Education, some money from the AARP and United Healthcare, and all of this support and validation has helped us get the product to market today. And these are some of the faces of our trainers at our customer organizations. So we onboard them with a Train the Trainers program to get them launched and off to a successful start. And then we've heard feedback like this today, hearing from our caregivers that this is something that is impacting the way that they give care, what they know about their residents and our elders, and how it makes them feel more satisfied and valued in their roles. And so, like Anne, we agree that everybody who works with aging populations should go through Embodied Labs. And we really want to bring this viable solution not only to training for our aging populations here in the United States, but around the world as well, because we believe that this platform and this training content will create more compassionate, more effective care providers in a world that will always be aging. Thank you.
I don't have a mic. Go for it. You. Yeah. Oh, Todd. You're going to go first, and you're going to pass it down to Ajay, and then we'll go to Alicia.
Great pitch. I mean, fantastic motivation for you to start the company, which always, I think, resonates with people. You know, I think you really hit all the high points, you know, total addressable market, the kind of things that investors usually want to see. I didn't really get a feeling of, again, if you want to raise money, what would you use that for? What does that look like? And you talked a little bit about we're going to partner with some people to go to market. I think you've clearly made a lot of progress already. So I think what I would have possibly asked for would be, how do you think about going to market? And if you had X million dollars, what would you use that for? What are the kind of the next steps?
Sure, great question. So our milestones through the end of this year are to do some working on our platform so that we can push it one step further. We've created the sales process, and really to mirror that and scale that, we need to do some work on just kind of the product features itself so that it can accommodate a volume and a scale at a national and multinational level. So there's a whole list of product features that we'd like to build, that we're ready to build. In addition to that, I think a big barrier for us has been we held off on selling hardware. We didn't really want to do that. We are looking at being a SaaS model ultimately, and have phased out hardware in our 5-year plan. So at year 3, I don't think that will be part of what we sell. But that is a barrier itself. So we essentially sell an upfront cost of the hardware itself. And I think if that was removed, we would have adoption of this, because again, it's not really about VR or the technology itself. It's the problem that VR is solving for people. And VR is a little bit bulky, awkward, and expensive right now. So I think with some capital, we can really bolster the way we can get adoption now, and not really have to wait for that lag time of the next gen headsets.
Thank you.
Thanks for your pitch. Really appreciated that you were able to share kind of the emotional beginnings of your startup. You know, that's difficult to do in front of an audience at times, so thank you for that. One thing that wasn't clear to me, I loved the pitch overall, but one kind of element that was lacking was the trigger or the catalyst for adoption. Like, what's driving these elder care centers to actually adopt? Is it regulatory? Is it, you know, is there some kind of catalyst that's making that happen?
Great question. Turnover and retention is so expensive. It's really a crisis that all of these organizations are facing. And they've said in their 5-year strategic plans, we will use technology in some way to address this. I think we've been a really great way for them to take that strategic plan and put it into practice in a way that's tangible and useful. Because some of the things, so we have compliance training, right? They already have their Relias or their Educare, which I've heard is something they share as an experience, but not in a positive way. And we're bringing in elements of those compliance training. We're not trying to be the traditional methods, though we are kind of able to solve some federal regulations. So that's a small element of what our customers see as value. But they see beyond that it's something that can create this, they're trying to solve this workforce problem of having now 4 generations all working together and giving care. So they're like, oh, this is a millennial over here. Let's see if we can help communicate with our our incoming workforce using these kinds of solutions. They're also really trying to figure out how to solve some of the new problems as they're having to train up the workforce in a new way, and going through a shared VR experience that then, beyond that, we have a framework that stretches this not only, it's not really about the VR, it's about what you take and apply back. So our framework brings it into staff meetings and into family caregiver support trainings as well. So it's addressing something that needs to be addressed, whether the regulations have caught up to that or not, and because they're so desperate to figure out ways to solve this turnover and retention problem, they're willing to kind of step out and be our early adopters.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that.
Wow, that was an amazing pitch. Thank you so much for telling your story. And I think we all kind of really felt the experience that you kind of went through, and so thank you for being so open and transparent there. We are really excited about the aging demographic. It's the fastest growing segment. And will continue to be a problem, and there needs to be other solutions there. So I wanted to touch a little bit more on your fundraising. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, we've raised a little bit of investment through a couple of safe note small rounds, and then in addition to that had some capital come in first through some of those competitions I mentioned, and then now we have this revenue influx that's been able to help us with development as well. So we are raising right now, and I do have that information offline available, but that kind of takes us into where we are with our raise for a seed.
Mm-hmm. So smart to pivot away from actually selling the hardware. I'm at Samsung, so I understand the capital intensity of the hardware side. So happy to chat about that after. So where is your main focus right now? Like you're tackling a couple different things. So you actually have the content. What are you trying to focus, and how do you scale?
Yeah, so our main focus right now is to sell our platform into these long-term care and home health organizations that have not only, we take a single site and then look at an organization that works, at a national level and even at a global level and say, well, how do we take something that we can prove here and then scale that up? So we have the platform that delivers the content. Initially, we thought the content was a driver for customer acquisition, and we have plenty of content on there now. We've released about roughly quarterly updates of new experiences, and we have a framework where they really only use 5-minute modules at a time. So it breaks it into lots of training that they can do ongoingly without running out of things to do. And we found that the content's kind of the horse, and the cart is what we've been able to build in the platform around it. And then we've also been able to keep excitement. Like, people love knowing what's next. And in some of our assessment, we ask, what do you want as the providers to see next? So it's kind of the brand awareness and a way to keep engagement up right now. So it's side by side, develop the platform, make it useful, keep it solving their real problems, and tracking the bottom lines that they need to see to invest in it. And then I can't help it, I love making the content, so we're not going to stop doing that either. It's what's engaging, it's what is meaningful, and it's where we have a lot of innovation on our team in terms of R&D for what we're building.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Put your hands together for Carrie Shaw, guys, from Embodied Labs. Okay, up next. Go for it. Lisa's back. She's going to do Rosario's presentation. All right, we have Rosario Ballesteros Casas coming to the stage. The mic's up there for you.
No, I don't need it. You think I can use the I will use here. If it is not, I'm fine. Okay. Hi. We are VR Americas. The world is moving very quick, very fast. And 40. Sorry, microphone. Is better here? Well, okay. Then let me, okay. By 2046, 6 billion people will be moving to urban areas. It is more than 1.5 million people per week. The people is moving. The infrastructure gap is 3.3 trillion per year, and it means a lot of people needs to switch jobs too. With this gap and the need of moving, smart cities sorry, this is not that comfortable. Smart cities are going to happen, and it is inevitable. And companies must adapt their training process, because the current training process is not safe, is not scalable, is very expensive, and the companies are not using in the training process any analytics, or not using enough analytics to understand and predict needs and gaps. My name is Rosario, and I am the CEO and co-founder of VR Americas. Every time we address the clients in our industry, we are finding they're talking to us about very, very fatal accidents and how the correct training is preventing it. And that was talking, I can see, I'm so sorry where I am. Well, the current method is expensive, is complicated, is not doing the analytics, and we are creating the solution for this. Yes, I think it is working. Also, I don't know if I prefer, okay, that's fine. What? This works? Yes, sorry. Okay. We are building our solution. Ethical Self-Brain Hacking is a training management platform to reduce the skill gaps challenge for the smart cities implementation. And what we are doing is using the power of virtual and augmented reality, empowered by the engine, with analytics engine that we are building. Basically, we want the content training providers to enable. There are many amazing content creators in VR and AR, and we want the training, I don't know if it is working, if not, I will explain that. We want the training providers and the training managers in the companies being able to create syllabus for training using VR, AR content, and basically being able to track all the process for the trainees, all the improvements for the companies, and also could use all the analytics of the industries to create the future of the planning of the future of those industries. Our solution is a B2B solution where the training leader in the companies is basically using or acquiring content from third-party content creators and creating the syllabus, then training the people with VR and AR, and the analytic engine is tracking all the process to give insights. The obtainable market is 182 billion, is interesting enough. Then we are going for the intersection between smart cities, or the training for industrial market, and basically immersive technologies. It is very interesting because when we came 2 years ago, and when we came the last year, and when we are here this time, we are seeing how accurate is now the audience coming here. And we feel we are following the correct path. How is our business model? Our business model is basically a platform where we give a license to the companies. It is a, well, $50K setup cost and license per year, plus $30 per employee. The training process includes the complete year and the AR for the daily operations. Then the training content outlet, we have a percentage of it, is a license and model. And finally, the API for training content creators. That way, the platform can ingest the content created by third parties. And we can also certify, and I will let you know after it why, we can also certify the training providers to learn how to create high-quality VR and AR content for this platform. That's why we started creating content. We realized how important is the quality of the content. And at the end, if we see the world in 360, and I'm not talking about 360 content, but the world is 360. Our brain works that way. And we understand this content as a 360 content. We can create really interesting analytics on the top of it. We can convert very high-quality content, video content or AR content, into a cloud of dots of different layers of training content. I don't know if it is with the demo, it could be cleared. Our solution is comprehensive, and basically, many people is doing amazing things. And it is very important because this industry is working in a collaborative way. And one of the topics that we think is very important, we were talking about that 2 days ago, is the construction of APIs that could allow to connect for the companies, to connect with the correct and the useful tools and content creators and analytics and sensors for the different industries, for the different verticals. What we are doing is building somewhere, building a place, a platform where all of those could be connected, and the companies will not be changing their enterprise software. They already trust them, and they are not ready to change. Then how can we start connecting and creating tools for them to move to the next wave? There is a lot of people who think our product is very good. They are talking about us. Forbes, Nat Geo, it is very interesting because a lot of people is calling us to ask, well, who is your PR agency? And we are like, no, we are not paying for it, it's the product. And we are invited to talk in many places because we really think that there is a very, very productive future for XR, and we want to be part of it. Also, some of those are willing to pay. Since our first year, 2016, we have revenue. 2017, we had 10 times 16. And this year, we already surpassed 2017. Then they are willing to pay. We have like 3 new logos this week. Then it's a nice thing, yes. Why Lucas and I? As co-founders, we have proved dedication, experience with different verticals. We are executors. We are doers. I mean, that's what we were doing our entire life. And we have a very, very curious mix of skills. And we are nerd enough to learn and to adapt. And I don't know how, because it was amazing. We gathered an amazing advisory board and very active advisory board. They are coming from different industries and very and diverse expertise, but let's say neuroscientists like Moran Cerf are very active helping us. People, experts in the education industry like Kiko Suarez and Catalina Valenzuela from Latin America and from here. And of course, commercial and digital experts like Arturo Duran or like Lisa Benbenik. We also have an amazing team. Today, we are 11 people. We are self-funded to date. That will be a question that I'm sure you will be doing why we are looking for investment. But basically, we have an amazing staffing plan that we want to anticipate 8 months, time to market. And when in the future people will talk about the successful implementation of smart cities, we want our name to be in the list. If you want to be part of this story, please talk to us. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Rosario. Silka, if we want to start with you, I'll pass it down to Amanda.
Hi, thank you for that presentation. That was awesome. I'm trying to understand, I don't know much about smart cities and the problems that are going to come because of the move. So that wasn't 100% clear. I don't clearly understand the problem, and maybe that's just me. But anyway, what I do understand is that you're a marketplace. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure, for training, for industrial training, yes.
So moving on to distribution, the hardest thing for a marketplace is to get the consumers. It's like a vicious circle, right? How are you managing to boost your distribution and get the content makers and the creators and convince them that they should create this type of content on your platform for their customers?
That's exactly what we were validating the last 2 years. And we have the 2 sides. One is the content creators side, and that's why we started by creating VR and AR content to explore if companies were adapting, using it or not, and it was working. I really think, and you can see it all over, there are very talented creators, and in many cases, they don't know how to monetize it. On the other side, you have the companies with the need of training, with the efficiency proved of these contents compared with regular content. And of course, the licensing model will make this cheaper or more affordable for them. From the side of the industries, that's how we were starting. And the reality is we already have the MVP built. We are ready, and we were already selling to some companies. And we want to move to a one-time sale model, kind of pilots, to the subscription model, because I think the market is starting to do it. But that's why we want mentors. That's why we were. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, and very graceful handling of the AV issues. I melt down whenever that happens. So thank you so much for the presentation, and I still love the training use case for VR, so I think you've hit on a really big market. My one piece of feedback is around the market and the market size presented. 180 billion is a huge number, and I can understand that your product could potentially go into serving all those markets, but we try to get founders to think about, okay, what's your market this year? What's your market in the next 5 years? Like, what are you going to be able to truly address? Because I haven't run across anything that's 100 billion plus where you can actually address it in the first couple of years. So getting some granularity around that and really helping investors understand what the true addressable market is now and over the short term, I think would help people not have a bad reaction to such a big number that's impressive but very large.
That's real, but that's real. And big part of it is, well, my background is very weird because I was in the public sector, in the private sector, in finance, whatever it is. But when I was in the public sector, I saw the immense need of understanding how cities will be ready for the adoption of smart cities. I mean, of people arriving to the cities, infrastructure being ready for it, et cetera, et cetera. And in many cases, it's not only the companies buying, but the cities training and creating job opportunities also. It's like both sides of it. That's why for us it's difficult to divide. Maybe the selling model will be different for all of them, but of course there is a big place. That's why we are not just looking for attendant or to give the service alone, but also find where we can be a player connecting parts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So congratulations on your traction and also on all the attention you're attracting. That's certainly a nice marker. I actually echo a little bit of the comments in that I would have loved to understand better the types of content that are being offered in the marketplace and to just have a little more clarity as to the educational experiences. So I know that some of it was probably in the demo video and we didn't see that. That said, it is important also when founders send us presentations, if there's a demo there and you're relying on someone who's like scrolling through a presentation on their phone to always watch a video, it's very often that we don't have the time to do that right away. We will get to it, but in the first few slides, tell us what it is and give us some examples of the types of topics that are being covered. Like, I got very excited by the idea of ethical brain hacking, but I also want to know more. How does it work? What are the use cases from the companies who are subscribing to your platform? Who are the people within those companies who are taking the courses? How is it affecting their jobs? How is it affecting the way that the company functions? And what is the ROI for them? Yes, they need the education, and yes, education in VR can be significantly more effective because of memory formation and recall and all of those things. But how is your content, you know, the right content for this? And aside from that, how are you working with the content creators to get them to create the right kind of content? Because especially when it comes to training content, you don't want just everyone going at it. And so just, it would be nice to get a lot more clarity into the how does it work. The big vision is obviously there, but the granularity would be helpful.
Thank you. Yes, with the demo, we were trying to show one of the procedures that we were seeing are common for many industries is all the lineman role. The people who is keeping the electric grid working is where we did the first demos and where we were tracking the first, and it's interesting, the first business cases, because of course it is a training done in the private sector, in the public sector, all the cities keeping, and also is an area or is a world where the people is bottom of the pyramid, then the creation of job is an opportunity also there. And at the same time, the risk involved is very high. Every time you are talking with an executive in the energy industry and you are talking about the people repairing electric plants, power plants, or keeping the electric grid working, they are talking about that. Then that's a big part of where we started. But yes, good point, thank you.
That's a very compelling story, so make sure you mention it because that clarifies it. I think that founders often know what they're building so clearly in their head that it's difficult to understand that most of us, this is the first time we're hearing about it. So tell us the stories of who's using it and why, and then we enter your world.
Thank you.
Right on. Thank you, Rosario. Put your hands together for Rosario. Okay, last but certainly not least, Arjita Sethi from Equally from San Francisco. The handhelds over there. I think that's your computer. And you have the microphone on the podium.
But I don't see anything.
The clicker is there as well, and you can control the slides on the projector.
Well. Well, the light's on, so it's on. I'm the last person to go. After that, we are free. So probably just a few minutes and then 5 minutes and 5 minutes. Yeah?
Sure. What's up? Yeah, that sounds good.
No, it wouldn't have. All right, let's try. Come on, come on, come on.
Thank you for letting us into VR. No, the alt space, the last pitch was so much fun doing it in VR. So next time we have to figure out a way to do both in VR and in real life. We'll get together and put on headsets.
Sure. All right. Step number 1, I can see it on my screen. So the last step is just to get it there. All right. We got it. Hi, everyone. I am Arjita Sethi. I am the co-founder, and I head the learning and impact at Equally. wouldn't work. Let's try this. All right, so for the 8 years that I was a teacher, every time I used technology in my classroom, it broke my heart. Because the children would not speak to each other. The children would be isolated, sitting in some of their isolated corners, and just be tapping on some random device. There was no active experience. They wouldn't move around, and children look best when they move around and play. So the question in my mind while I was in India was, can technology actually bring children back to the real world? Can technology actually bring children connect with other children? So we created Equally. We're building an augmented reality social network that can actually teach children from their surroundings and from their friends. So essentially, Pokemon Go meets Khan Academy. Now, I took away the video, and I'm just going to take you through the user experience eventually, but just for understanding, Pokemon Go meets Khan Academy. Here's my team. You see Anshul, our head of product and technology, and he is the right person to be doing what he is doing because of his experience in social gaming, because of his experience in social networks. We have Faranak Razvi, who is this badass, amazing game developer. And she has actually won the recent Tenderloin Prize for developing an app for the Tenderloin suburb of neighborhood of San Francisco. We have Hitesh, who is a deep learning expert, and me. Well, the market size is pretty big. The total addressable market, if Equally was the only person or entity in the world, would be $100 billion. But we are not. So realistically, we can actually start tapping into the $2.3 billion industry in the US right now. Now, what do we actually do? So essentially, the child has a camera, and the child goes around and scans objects or even text around the room. And while the child starts recognizing and collecting these objects or text, we start giving knowledge around those objects or those texts. And the child can actually, these are all options, and the child can actually just pick any option here, and it opens up another huge big database of information. And the user can actually choose what they want to learn. Once they like some information, they found some cool bit of data, they can share it with their network and friends. And they see what their friends are sharing, and they learn from the information from that. It's a pretty validated market where we have Netflix, we have Khan Academy, we have YouTube Kids, Disney. But somebody is tackling fun, and somebody is tackling education. How about we put all of that together? Something that could be fun, and could teach, and could be entertaining at the same time. Not just that. As a child is learning and using our platform, we are able to capture this rich data. Imagine a child might just be collecting information on nature. That means the child is inclined towards learning about nature. Imagine the child is just constantly learning about history and choosing the options of history. We use this data for parents and teachers to actually understand how their children are learners and create their learner's profile. So that's me in 2014 when I was running my school in India. But eventually, we've come a long way. Last year, we became one of the semifinalists for the Global Learning X Prize, which was sponsored by Elon Musk. And this year, we have the plan to get into markets. So how are we going to actually get into the hands of children? We're going to go through schools. We're a free social network as long as the child uses it in schools, museums, or any other organizations. If the child wants to use it further, the parents can buy our subscription model. For our early testers, we've taken our co-working space in Bespoke. For the people who know about Bespoke, it's one of the only retail co-working spaces, which has this amazing tech right in front of it, big screens where they can actually showcase their product. We're using Westfield Mall and Bespoke space because while parents can come for shopping and actually just come with their children, they can leave their kids at our learning experience spot and shop all they want. Last year, we launched our MVP, and we got 12,500 users organically, not family and friends. And we have about 80% subscriber retention. We're launching this September with a new academic year into the schools, and we hope to close our round by then. And in the next 18 months, the idea is to reach 100,000 paid customers in the US and then expand globally. The 100,000 paid customers are not the total number of users we would have. The total number of users are expected to be about 500,000 users. We've created a strong team of advisors. These are people from the gaming industry, from the impact industry, the learning industry, and the people who are from the investment side as well. And I just want to leave you with this small message before I end the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Arjita. And so we had a couple panelists drop out because they had to run and catch a plane. So Martina, you're standing in, so I'm going to make you kick it off.
All righty, I'm in the hot seat. Well, thank you so much for that, Arjita. I was so excited to see your deck originally. It's great to see, all the progress and updates as you're moving along. So we had talked, I think the first time you and I connected about your intellectual property and what's proprietary in your system. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about sort of how you're thinking about protecting what you're building and what kind of defensibility you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So while I was running my school in India, I created this methodology called the Language Gym. The school was teaching English language to children. And I created this methodology, Language Gym, which is pending the patent. And it's essentially a toolkit for how to teach language to children from the method of elicitation. That is, in research, learning research, it is called constructivism. So whatever the child already knows, how to build on the child's learning. So that's one of the methodologies that we are essentially using here. And that's part of our IP. And there's a lot more. I can talk about it in detail later.
Very cool stuff. I have a ton of questions, so I'm going to rapid fire and try to answer as many of them as you can. Like, what's the age group that you're targeting?
5 years to 12 years.
Okay, 5 to 12. And is it also free for parents and not parents, but teachers and administrators
Yes.
at school? Okay. And there's an administrator dashboard to control things and to track progress?
Yep.
Awesome. And is the learning model kind of more discovery-oriented, where like you scan an object and then you're getting kind of a topic cloud around it? And okay,
yeah,
it's not like it's very self-directed learning. It's not about trying to follow like a specific curriculum around English or math or whatever. Okay.
Right.
Cool. I have a school, so let's pilot it there.
Oh my God, that'll be awesome.
TK through 8th grade, so let's make it happen.
Yes, yay, thank you.
He just has a school.
I can't. I don't know how to follow that. I don't have a school. I have a little sister who could be an end user. Yeah, so really entertaining pitch. I really love that you have the background as a teacher, and so you have that learning angle. Yeah, so in terms of the lesson plan, so what am I actually learning, and how is it digestible, and how does that map towards the lesson plan for teachers? And then how is this value enough that teachers or school districts will even buy it? I know that sales cycle is pretty tough, so I would love to learn a little bit more about that.
So for the first question, imagine if this place is a classroom. Mm-hmm. So the teacher doesn't have to integrate into her curriculum. It is literally pick up the device and start learning about anything around you. So if they're in their lab, All the objects around them are those beakers and HCl or whatever, acid and everything. And the children can just learn about that. So whatever room or whatever subject the teacher is teaching, the device is going to start giving them information because it's picking up everything from the surrounding. Secondly, we made it free for schools. So anytime, what we did in the last 1 year, we spoke up to over 100 schools and over 500 customers, parents, and we realized that the school cycle is too long for them to actually get it into school and then scale. But the school cycle only comes in place when they have to pay for it. If it is free, they can start it immediately as long as they have the device. So we made it free, hoping that, and most of the successful edtechs have done this at Modo, CodeSpark, and everyone, where they make it free for schools, and eventually it goes to parents, and they are ready to buy for it.
Got it.
Yeah.
We work really closely with Samsung Kids, so I'd love to check after.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Go for it.
Hi.
Hi.
I love anything to do with kids. Actually, my two kids who are totally not listening right now have got headphones on over in the corner over
I
there.
can see them.
They're my two children.
I don't think they heard me.
They're not even like paying any notice. Hey, Luca, Miles. See, they're not even turning around. Anyway, if there's anything to get me out of any job I'm in, it's to do something with kids. So I have a great affinity with what you're talking about, and I see the passion that you have as well for children, and you're motivated. So that's fantastic. I've also looked a lot into what is available for kids, and helping my school as well with their technology innovations. It's a very hard market to get into, and schools are very hard to get into. And startups tend to go in their own little segment, but the education is for the whole kid.
Absolutely.
And so I'm wondering, it's like a distribution problem, like getting in there, but complementing other solutions. And I know somebody's already asked that question, but I'm just would really like a little more about that.
And I fully agree, and that's why it has taken us 2 years of actually testing different models, talking to every stakeholder in this industry, and actually going to schools first and being completely free, and not having a teacher training module where teacher has to actually incorporate this in her curriculum or try to understand when she can use this. She is free to use it anytime. She is free to monitor the kid as long as she can. She doesn't have to do it every day. And so all those barriers, the first barrier is the teacher thinks, do I need to be trained for this? Oh my God, now let me think of the curriculum. Where am I going to use this? And I, as a teacher, would not want that. So all those barriers we've put really, away. And that's why we are trying this methodology, and it's working. Like a lot of even museums are very open. They're like, yes, you're free, we want to do this.
Okay, that makes sense. Also, just a little suggestion, you probably thought of it, but special education seems like a very good tool for special education, like kids with ADHD or dyslexia, where attention is a problem, myself included. So I wonder if there's a way in the market tackling it from that angle as well. So
yeah, I mean, that was not our direct use case, but if we have 30 seconds, I'll share a story. So
do we have 30 seconds?
All right.
I think
okay, so
should we give her 30 seconds?
Yes. Okay.
Go.
So one of my closest friends from grad school is dyslexic. And when I showed her this product, I was just generally discussing about my product. And when I showed her this product, she started playing with it. She was like, oh my God, I wish I had this, because every time I do a Google search, I'm never able to put the right thing, and it shows me the wrong thing. Right. If I have this, where it can show me the text, it recognizes a text and object, I don't have to go to any other search anymore. Yeah. And that is when our aha moment was, there would be so many use cases for this. We are just doing this today, but it could be used for anyone. And that's why we hope one day all the children would be able to use it. They don't need, anything except internet. They can just get information that they want. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, put your hands together for Arjita.
thank you. Thank you, Malia.
Thank you. Thank you to all the founders who came. Thank you for everyone for sticking around for the pitch show.